Booyah. Welcome to our Ask Me Anything AMA session. We are going to jump into our questions and get those questions answered. We got exciting stuff coming up, just so you know. Please, please, please keep track of your email, especially if you're an NSA member. We got some really, really cool things happening that I can't officially announce just yet. But when I can officially announce them, it's going to be pretty darn exciting for you. So I can't wait to make those announcements. So look out for those messages that as they come in. And let's jump in. So Catherine, you have your hand up first.
Good morning. Good morning, Arel.
Good morning.
Good morning. I apologize if it's loud as I'm at an airport after a speaking gig. Really appreciate Talkadot, appreciate what you're doing. My question is about the platform. I finished a speaking gig yesterday, got some great testimonials. I see that I can star the ones that I like and they show up at the top of the report. Mm-hmm. How do I generate a downloadable with the testimonials that I've chosen?
Great question. I am going to share my screen. Let me pull up a example of one of my reports here. Okay. Catherine, can you see my screen by chance?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, wonderful.
Research, and I think that transition had.
Okay, so if you want to download them, there's a couple of ways to do it. If you want to download any individual one, all you have to do is click on these three dots right here, and then click download shareable testimonial, and it'll turn that specific testimonial into a shareable image. If you want to share more than one, wherever you star, whatever on the top 2 or 3 of the star, you just go over to the share this report arrow, click on share this report, and then put download testimonials. And depending upon how long the testimonials are, it can throw 2 or 3 on there. What I typically recommend people doing is if you've got like 3 short ones, star those 3 short ones first, create this image, download it, and then you can move others around. But I typically just go to the ones that I like and go here and go download, and then click to download on the top and share. So that's how you access the testimonials into the images automatically. Does that answer what you were looking for, Katie?
Yes, thank you. And I have a follow-up question there.
Please.
I understand how to share my testimonials with my clients, but I have a speaking agent. So how do you use Talkadot when trying to rebook clients through a speaking agent? Do you have any suggestions for how to incorporate this platform when you're going through an agent to book new clients?
Yes, definitely. Do you like how I went straight to Katie? I didn't even stutter. I was like, Katie. I didn't go Catherine, Katie. I went right to the friends ladder. Okay, here's what I recommend doing. Number 1, I recommend sharing this report with your agent. So there's a copy report link right here. So if I open up a new incognito window, just so I'm not logged into my account, you'll see what the public view of it looks like. It looks very, very similar, except, can you hear me? My video's frozen. Can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay. Okay, you can hear me. Okay, I can't, I'm not moving on my side. Jeez Louise. I'm not sure what happened with my internet. Hold on, let me try to stop the share. Can you see me? Have I disappeared?
You're frozen.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Let me change my camera. Just change my camera. Can you see me now?
You're good.
Okay. I don't know why I did that. That was my good camera. Now I got to use my other camera. All right. Y'all got to deal with the other camera. All right, here we go. So this is a public version of it. So if you notice, there's no 3 dots on the testimonials. Those 3 dots are for you to view testimonial data like emails and names and things like that if they were given, and to download. So you're not going to share anyone's personal information. So the first thing that I would do with your agent is share this report with them to say, hey, I just spoke at, in this case, I spoke at the United Way. Hey, I spoke at the United Way. Like, maybe you should use this to reach out to other United Ways to see if I might be able to speak there. So it's called land and expand. So you land one, and then you use your data to expand into similar groups. So I would share this report link with them. I would also consider, I don't know what your relationship with your agent is. Do you share your leads with your agent? Or do you share, or do you follow up with your lead yourself? Katie?
In my case, I follow up with my leads myself, and if I book leads on my own, then I kind of report them to my agent so that it's all the finances are run through the same agency.
Okay, so if you have your follow-up system and you do that, then obviously continue to do that. The main thing that I would share with your agency is the link. I would also personally send them an email. In the email, I would embed this image, which is your overall data. And then I would choose 1 or 2 testimonials that you really, really like. Like say, I liked this one. I didn't really read it, but hopefully it's not horrible. There we go. And then I would insert 1 or 2 of these testimonials into the email. So not as an attachment, but like insert in the email, and then give a link to the report, because they may read the report, they may not, but to be able to have feedback and data that they can use when selling you to other groups is going to be really helpful. And most speakers don't have any feedback or data. So what I would do with your agent is continue to follow up with leads as you normally would, but share your link and 1 piece of data and maybe 1 test or 2 testimonials in an email and send it to them. Does that help, Katie?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ravel.
All right. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Welcome to the Talkadot family. We're happy you're here. Please share any questions or wins that you might have as you start using our tool. If anyone has any wins, by the way, I know we're here for questions, but if anyone has any wins, feel free to throw them in the chat. I'd like to celebrate you. It makes me happy because I sit in this office and work behind a computer all day, or I'm on a stage speaking. So I'd like to see what's happening with y'all. All right, let's go to Jasmine. Hey, Jasmine.
Hey, thank you so much for this resource. It is amazing. So I had a yes. So I had a quick question. It was so interesting. Like I was thinking about it, and then I got your email about AMA, and I said, hey. So my question is, do you have it where it will be in like different languages like Spanish? Because I'm speaking to Latin America, and it would be great if they understood what they were clicking.
Yeah, so we do not currently support localization. We will, though. This is on our radar. We have a few people that are Spanish speaking. We have a few people that are in European countries that speak English, but they spell things differently. So making the version of the tool so that it is compatible in different languages and localized to dialects and spellings is super important to us, but not currently available. It will be, just not right now.
Okay, all right. I'll just get my translator to help me.
Yeah, we actually have one of our members. Have you ever met Ovidilio Vasquez? Have you ever met him? He goes by Ovi. He speaks to primarily Spanish audiences. His situation might be different than yours because I'm not sure what demographic you speak to, but typically he speaks in school systems and he typically tells the students to translate it for the parents. So I don't know if you have translation services or anything like that, but or you could, it's I am American as American can be, so I speak one language. So I don't know if that helps you, but I'd be happy to connect you with him if he might have some best practices as a predominantly Spanish speaker who uses our tool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you want to throw me your email as a DM in the chat, I'll make sure to do an intro to Ovi.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jasmine. All right. Other questions? Don, how you doing, Don?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to hear from you.
All is well. I have 2 questions. First question is related to what you were talking about sharing testimonials. Is there a way to include the name of the person who gave you that testimonial in the download? And the second question is totally unrelated to that. So do you want it now or do you want it after you answer the first question?
Let me answer your question first and then move on to that one because I can only hold one thing at a time. So we're actually actively working on that right now. So for now, the answer is no. When you download a testimonial, it just has the organization name in the testimonial. We're adding a functionality. Literally, we just met about this yesterday to be able to capture people's names so that it can be included in the download version of the testimonial and in your my lead section. So when you do a CSV export and upload them into your CRM, you can have a first name and a last name. So you can say, hey, Joe, if you're doing like a mass email versus, hey, friend? So right now the answer is no, but that is actually something we're currently working on that should be solved relatively soon.
And I assume with that, there's a way to confirm that they gave permission to use their name and the testimonial.
They do. Yeah, actually, this will be, I'll show this to everyone because I think this is worth seeing. Let me pull up and see if I have an example of it. Yeah, perfect. Hold on. Boop, boop, boop. No, let me do, there we go. Okay. So let me find one where they didn't give me. Okay. So I'll just share this with you so you can see it, so you can feel confident about this because it's a good question. Okay, so we added this functionality here. So these are all of the people that reached out to you and said, hey, I'd like to give you feedback. In the feedback form, there's a checkbox that they can check to say, yes, I'd like for you to stay in touch with me. And yes, I give you permission to share my information. There's a checkbox. Actually, I want to show it to you so you can see it. Right here, yes, please keep me updated. So if they uncheck this, then you won't be able to get their email address, and I'll show you what that looks like so you can feel confident. And then at the end, after they give their, I went too fast. Dang it. Hold on. Here we go. Bop, 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 bop. See right here, I consent to have my feedback shared publicly. They can uncheck that when they're done, when they hit next.
Is there a way to make that unchecked by default so that they have a positive confirmation?
So right now it's automatically checked and they have to opt out versus opt in. That's the way the system is set up.
Can I just suggest that that'd be pretty important to make that, have the option to have it unchecked by default?
Mm-hmm. Why is that?
My audience is IT people, and they're really skeptical about that kind of stuff. So,
okay.
Mm-hmm. So the second question is, do you have any recommendations for best uses of Talkadot with online, on-demand virtual training?
Yes, I do. I want to show you one more thing, and then I'll jump into your online question. If someone does not give you permission to share, you'll notice that these are a little bit of a darker black, and these are grayed out. So if you click here, sharing permissions are not granted, you'll notice that you won't be able to actually download it versus one of these up here. If they gave you permission, it'll turn into it. So anything that's in your account that someone's given you permission for, you'll be able to download. And if they did not give you permission to stay in touch with them, you won't be able to see their contact info, but you will be able to see their feedback. I just wanted to make that clarification.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So in terms of virtual, here's what I recommend for virtual presentations. All right. Let me pull this up. So do you see this?
By virtual, I don't mean Zoom. I mean pre-recorded, like an on-demand course that they go through.
Yeah. So I'll show you what we have set up for that. So what typically happens when someone gives feedback on a course is that you get what's called asynchronous feedback, which means someone's going to give you feedback today, but someone might also give you feedback 2 days from now, a month from now, a year from now. And the way our system is currently set up is that it chunks data by date. So if someone is giving you onesie, twosies pieces of feedback over long periods of time, you might get all this stray data in your account. So to solve that particular problem, we have this lock code feature here. If you're not familiar with it, I'll walk through real quickly. So all you want to do is when you create a code, go to Edit Event and scroll down to the Advanced Settings, and then choose the code that you want to lock. So let's say you're doing a course or a training that people will watch and you want to get feedback on it, but you want all of that data to go to just one report. So let's say it's college, you would choose the code you created for that and then click Save Changes. And then from that point moving forward, anyone who scans your code and scans your QR code and uses the code college, all of that data, whether it's today, a month from now, or a year from now, will go into this one report. So I would recommend only creating a slide just for that specific training that you won't reuse. So it could be whatever code you'd like it to be, but I wouldn't reuse it because you want all of that data to go into one report for that particular training.
Got it. That makes sense, and that's helpful.
Awesome. Cool. Any other questions there, Don?
I don't think so. I need to experiment with it. I just signed up for it. I used it last week at an event, and I was blown away by the data that I got, and I'm already sending it out to prospective clients. So I think you've created a great tool, and I look forward to its evolution.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we very much want to continue to evolve it. And the way that we do that is with all of you. So continue to use it, continue to give us feedback. Like you said, hey, I'd like it for it to be unchecked first, and then they have to opt in. So all of your experiential feedback allows us to look at all these different ways of improving the tool and ideally making it, like I like to say, a custom Armani suit. Imagine a suit that Nick Zizi would wear. If you don't know Nick Zizi, he's on this call. One of the best dressed people I've ever seen in the speaking game. So if you want, we want this to feel like a Nick Zizi suit on your speaking body. So we very much welcome all thoughts, all feedback, any use cases, any frustrations that you have. You actually can't hurt our feelings. Because if something is frustrating or not working, that means it's our job to fix it for you. So we want to do our best to do that with the small but mighty team that we have. So thank you all for using our tool, and thank you for giving us your feedback, because the more you give it to us, the better we can help. Let's go to, I'm not sure how to say it. I'm going to say Michael. Is it Michelle? Is it Mitchell?
You got it. It's Michelle.
Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, we went Michelle. Okay, Michelle. Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Great. So while we're on that topic, how do we pronounce your name?
So my name is Arel, and the easiest way to remember my name that I've kind of figured out over time is, don't think of me as a friend, think of me as a relative, Arel, and then we're good to go. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
What's up,
Yeah. So thank you. Like Dawn, I used Talkadot for the first time last week. I was really pleased with it. Recommended by a really, really good friend, speaker friend, and she loves it too. Unlike Dawn, I like the opt-out option, because I know as long as it's there, people are happy, and I'd rather have the data than not.
For sure.
So I don't think it's a high risk thing. That's my personal opinion, but maybe you can further on down the line, as you improve the customization, you can make that an option for users to do. Okay.
Sure.
My question, and this is helpful, and incredibly would have been helpful had I heard it last week, because last week I did a keynote in the morning and then an afternoon session. The interactive portion of the day was in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. Everybody filled out the form in the morning. So when it came down, like I had 90s for everything except for the interactivity part, which of course would have been in the afternoon. I created 2 separate events, whereas if I'm understanding you correctly, I probably should have done one event and locked it so that they could use it again in the afternoon. But also people did it the next day as well. Mm-hmm. So.
Was it did you use the same code in the morning?
No, I did a different code.
Yeah, so so I'll show you, just so you know how the tool works, so you can feel confident with using it. Let me pull up so the way that the dashboard works here is you can use the same code. So let's say, for example, ADT is the code that I was using. Oops, I clicked on it. I can use the same code on the same day. I don't have to change my slide. I don't have to change anything, and it'll clump it based upon when people fill it out. Now, right. What I personally do and what I recommend is if I'm doing were your presentations in person and live, or were they virtual?
Both of them were in person.
Both in person. If they were both in person, and were they the same presentation, or were they 2 different presentations?
2 different presentations.
What I would recommend as a best practice is when you have 2 different presentations, use a different code for each one of those presentations. So for example, let's say on
well, let me rephrase that. It was 2 so the morning was a keynote, the afternoon was a workshop.
Understood.
So and the problem, and in the afternoon I didn't use slides or anything like that. So nobody filled anything out for the afternoon. I forgot to mention use the same code, or I forgot to mention use this code.
Yep.
So it was my first time doing it. So I didn't get any feedback in the afternoon, although I know they liked it.
So a couple of things that I've experienced, right? And everyone has a different use case, so this may or may not be applicable to your case. I typically, if I'm doing a keynote then a workshop, I do like to use two different codes for them, because the keynote experience and the workshop experience are actually two different experiences. Like you said, like the keynote typically is more ideas and storytelling, where workshops are more specificity and actions you want people to take. So the reason why that's also helpful for me, to separate the codes, if I choose to separate the codes, is because if I'm here and someone gives me feedback and it's say bunker, and another person gives me feedback and it's M2M, and it's on the same day, I know which presentation they went to, because some people might give you feedback 2 hours later, an hour later. You might get a straight piece of feedback and you're like, wait, where does that go? So if it does happen, sometimes it's easier for me to do that. They're two separate. If it's the same presentation,
Yeah, I get that, but in my case, there's also the issue is the exact same people, and then they're not going to want to fill out the same form twice, even though it's a separate session. So I was concerned about audience fatigue on form filling, but
So
I get your point.
So I've done the one thing that I've done to kind of deal with audience fatigue, because it's a very good fear. But what I've experienced is, if I'm doing a keynote, if I use a different code, I give away something different than my workshop. So people really do want whatever you give away to your audience. So if you're giving away like, hey, in my keynote, I'm going to give you the 5 questions to ask yourself about X. But in your workshop, you're going to say, here's a worksheet that you can work through to go through the things that I just taught you. Those are two different takeaways. So will they do 2 surveys back to back? No. Like survey 1 finished and then immediately survey 2. You're 100% right. No one's going to do that. But if you do a keynote at like 9 a.m. and ask for feedback, and then do a keynote at say 2 p.m. and ask for feedback, from my experience, you won't run into survey fatigue in that use case.
Okay, that's helpful. So, yeah, I mean, listen, it's everybody's different, and I'm going to keep using it. So, because I really do like it, I find it extremely well thought out. So, thank you for all the work that you're putting into it. I have one more question, and that is kind of perhaps a sensitive or awkward one, because I could imagine that the people who are filling it out because they want to give you good scores. So like I said, all of my scores except the activity one were in the 90s. I think I had 94, 96% said it was valuable. I noticed on yours it was 99% for everything, or 100%. It's really good. But then at what point should I say, I don't know if I should share this report? Like if it's 89%, but everybody else has 99%. What's your
It's
kind
a
of
great
take
question.
on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great question. So I want to answer it in a couple of parts, which I think is important, because this is important to note. Right now, we as Talkadot users, every single one of you is what's considered an early adopter. Not a lot of people are using us in the total industry. So what I've ultimately found is the people who are most interested in using Talkadot are typically right now at this stage, the best speakers. So it's awesome to see people getting good scores. It's also because we're the type of people that like, yeah, give me feedback. I actually want it. So we typically tend to be better in like further along in our skill set. So I just like to address that, because that's very important to know where we are. Number 2,
well, that's reassuring. Yeah.
Number 2, I think it really depends on, okay, I'll use an analogy here that I think is best. If I got a B and you got an A, am I excited about the B? Well, I mean, I guess it depends on, do I normally get A's, right? If I'm normally getting 90s, then maybe a 70 or an 80 feels like a lose for me. But if I'm normally getting 60s and I get an 80, then that 80 is a huge win. So I think the scores are kind of comparable to grades, where for some kids, if I don't get an A, my parents will hate me. And for some kids, if I got a B, I'd be like over the moon excited. So I think what I would do in your case is, where do you emotionally feel good? Where do you emotionally feel confident? And after you do 5, 6, or 7, you're going to get your range. You're going to get your kind of grade point average, if you will. And then if something dips below that, it's actually really good, because you can then go, well, what the heck went wrong here? So maybe I'm not sharing that one publicly. So let's say, for example, that's like an 80 for you. Like I'm a 90s guy. I don't like things in the 80s. Great. That's like very personal. And it's more of a personal decision. But I always like to ask myself, if I got a low score, what went wrong? And what's also cool, I'll show you this. I don't know if I've shared this with y'all because this was like crazy good feedback. Where is it? It was early when I started using it, and I was like, oh man, here we go. This one. Oh, not that one. Jeez Louise. This one. I offended so many people. Where is it? Oh, I used the word tribes in my presentation, and I went through this, and it was like, feedback after feedback of like, hey, great presentation, bro, but stop using that words. It's super offensive. And it was just, I was like, oh my gosh. And it was interesting for me because I didn't know at the time that was offensive to anyone. I used that word all the time. I was like, oh, I didn't know it was offensive to Native Americans. I'm not trying to be an offensive person. So even though I was ranked really high quantitatively, my qualitative feedback was like more constructive than it was positive. So I would say the sharing of it very much is what you set as your baseline. But when it does go low, those are points of going, what's the feedback people are giving me that's causing it? And can I improve upon it? And for me, it was very easy to change the word that I was using so it wasn't offensive. And then that score on that presentation, not only quantitatively was high, but qualitatively as well.
Cool. That's interesting. Very helpful.
Cool. Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for being a part. Yeah. Continue to use it. And as it continues to go, let us know. As a rule of thumb, if you're getting 90s, great job. If you're getting 70s, back to the drawing board.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, Michelle.
Yep.
Other questions?
Hey, well, I'll just say that this is Scott Carley from Austin.
Yeah.
And so I just got into Talkadot. So I'll come online. I'll show my face.
We're so much better now that we can see this beautiful face of yours. Now that we can see this beautiful face.
Yeah, right. Hey, Deborah, how you doing? It's good to see you too. So I had a presentation, virtual presentation to a group of CEOs, and there were, it was a recorded thing, but there were only like maybe 6, and 3 responded my Talkadot, and I had something that I gave away, which was a part of the How to Fascinate Personality Profile. But out of the 3, 2 of them booked a call with me, and 1 of them have booked my presentation. And so I am ecstatic. I am super happy about how that went. And, I got 100% on the questions and, what they thought about it. So I really love it. And I love the way we can give them something. And so the one that has actually booked me to come up and do a presentation in Ohio. So I was asking him about the fascination profile, and he very, what's the right word? But he kind of slid up the one of the pages of that, and he said, I printed it out. I printed every piece of it out. I am interested. I love this. And I just thought that was so cool. Yeah. So I love this tool. I've been a speaker for Vistage, and they grade us for every presentation. So I'm accustomed to being graded. It does take some getting used to, depending on what comments, people bring out. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm using it. I've got the pro version. So there's a lot I don't know yet about the different, the different codes and, for different presentations, what I should put up there. So anyway.
Well, listen, I want to say thank you very much for sharing. Like, these wins are so fun. And I think it's a great example for any speaker watching this, that sometimes we get really disheartened, right? Like, 6 people showed up to my session, right? It's really easy to get, but you just need 1 to book you. And it's a successful day, because you could have 300 people at your session and nobody books you, right? So there's like vanity metrics and then like actual metrics. And obviously we want to speak to larger crowds to impact more people. So that part I understand.
And this is going out to, this is recorded sessions going out to CEOs all over the country.
Man,
So it
amazing,
was a
dude.
slide and they'll take the picture. So I use a QR code most. That's what I'm promoting is a QR code. So if they do the QR, they don't need the other code. Is that right?
So if they use our slide, so let me just for clarity, because I think this is an important distinction. If you, oops, let me scroll up here. So when you create your code here and you download the slide, this QR code will automatically embed this code into your survey so they don't have to manually type it in. However, this is your download my QR code is your generic code that if you send someone to that QR code, they just have to manually type it in. So for example, I go here, you'll notice I don't have the code goal typed in. But if you download our slide here and then someone scans this QR code, that word goal would automatically be there. So that's the only distinction. I just want to bring that to your attention.
Yeah, I'm going to use the one with the QR because people just do that, and the more steps you have, the more.
Correct. We try to keep it as like, scan the QR code, give me your feedback, you're done. If you use the generic code, you just have to say, hey, scan the QR code, put in the code goal or put in the code, personality or something like that.
Is that okay if I chime in? Presentation's coming up, so I'm super excited about this. Thank you.
Well, and you know what you might want to do? Did you lock that code for? Did you use the lock the code feature for that presentation? All right, I want to show you how to do this because this is going to be very, very important for you. Since you have a presentation that's going to be shot out to like a whole bunch of people, you're going to get feedback that's going to come in maybe at 2 a.m, maybe a week from now, maybe 2 weeks from now and stuff like that. And then what's going to happen to your account is you're going to get a whole bunch of like this, as an example, is a stray piece of feedback that, obviously I did this presentation on the 24th. This one came in on the 25th. It uses the same code. It's very easy for me to realize this belongs here. And we have a merge feature, just so you're aware, where I can click these two things and then merge them together. I'm not going to do that because I like to keep this for illustrative purposes when I'm showing my report. But what you can do is go to your presentation that you just gave, click on actions and go to edit event, scroll down to where it says advanced settings. And then whatever was the, and then scroll down here to the drop down arrow, whatever was the code that you just used, click on whatever that is, and then click save changes. And then you're going to get a lock feature that will show up next to that particular code. So anytime anyone gives you feedback, all of that data will go into that report and not be stray onesie, twosies pieces of data randomly clogging up your dashboard. Okay. So, and what I would recommend also is don't use that code again for a different presentation unless you don't mind all of that data being in one report. So it'll all put it into one report and not separate it, but then you don't have to worry about lots of stray stuff coming into your account.
Hey, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. I will do that. Thank you.
Cool. And if you have any questions whatsoever about, like, let's say I did that, and you're like, oh, Lord have mercy, I don't remember what he said and I don't want to bother him. You can't bother us. Shoot us an email at hello@talkadot and we'll walk you through the whole process. All right.
I have a question.
Who was it about what he just said or something else?
It's backtracking to the code.
Okay.
I got a little confused. Again, this is Deborah Gardner.
Hey, Deb.
I had a program Monday, and when I put the slide up and it shows the QR code and then the code, but you're saying the code is already embedded in the QR code, that's confusing to the audience because it's like, are they looking for that code when they get on the QR code? But yet, if you download just the QR code, there's no instructions to say, put in the code, you have to tell them. So it's it feels like it's opposite.
Yeah, so if you download the QR code, that's if somebody wants to graphically design their own slide. They don't want to use the slide that we had. So our slide, when they scan it, all you have to do is say, scan the QR code and give me your feedback. And they don't have to manually do anything else. Was that clear?
Oh, I thought it was the opposite because with your slide, it's got the QR code and the code. So you're saying they have to put in the code.
No, do you have your phone on you by chance?
My phone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I want you to scan.
Because I don't understand why why it says to enter the code when they really don't need to enter the code.
Yeah, I'll explain that. So if anybody wants to scan this QR code right here, you'll notice that the word goal is already pre-built into your survey.
I see that.
The reason why we had this enter this code on the screen here is because some people might scan your what we found is some people might scan it and then move on. And if they move on, they're like, wait, how do I get the thing that I wanted? So we've kept that in there just in case someone needs to type it in. But for most people, when they scan it and they see it's already populated, they know what to do and they move on. So it's more as a fail safe than anything else.
Okay. Well, what was really fun on Monday when I did this, I used this graphic and because I was actually talking about communication and feedback. And I said, well, I can't sit here and tell you, how to, to communicate or provide feedback without my participation too. So here's mine, if you'd like to give me feedback. And so I kept talking and people were pulling out their phones for that. And I said, and if you don't capture this now, I'll have it at the last slide as well. So those that weren't ready for it. So
that's awesome.
I had 2 different opportunities within my talk to show it and it worked out really well.
It's so great when it so seamlessly transitions. Like if you're talking about feedback and getting better, it's a natural tie-in. I eat my own dog food, baby. Go ahead and give me the feedback,
Exactly. It was beautiful.
I don't know why we say I eat my own dog food. It's a weird phrase that I've heard, that I've used many times. And I'm like, I don't know why we say it, but nonetheless, that's awesome. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. But yeah, if you can, I'm just trying to be very subtle about it, not in their face. But pulling out your phone, they all just kind of followed. And so that was a brilliant suggestion that I think Mike shared with me one time. So
yeah, I have found, and just to double click on that for anyone else listening, I have found that saying, hey, could you please give me feedback, will get you maybe like 50% of people actually taking action. But if you actually say the words, everyone take out your phones, open your camera app and scan the QR code. If you give that level of specificity, it's, this is like the deep psychology of it, which like probably is outside the scope of this. When you speak, you actually become the leader of the room. Everyone follows your attention. So if you say, raise your hand, people raise their hand. If you say, turn to the left, people turn to the left. So if you say, take out your phone, open your camera app and scan it, they're going to do what you've said because you've taken over the position of leader. If you just say, hey, give me your feedback on this presentation, people won't do it because they're confused on what action they should take. So that specific like command, you'll notice almost everyone just pulls out the phone and does it easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yeah, and I actually started
I gotta
with
jump
the
in.
bonus first. I actually said, would anyone like a bonus? Would anyone like, more information? And so I said, here's the QR code for that. And while you're doing that, hey, give me some feedback. That worked too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Deborah. I appreciate you sharing that. I think Steven's got to jump, so I want to get his question answered pretty quickly. Go ahead, Steven.
Yeah, so I'm doing an interesting thing in December. I'm speaking at a conference. I'm actually co-presenting with another guy from a different company. I'd still like to do the survey, but when people give feedback or if they want to know more information, do I just say it's just for me, or is there a way to Splitsville? I mean, I don't know. It's just
do
curious.
You want to get feedback for you and your co-presenter, or do you want feedback just for yourself?
Well, I'd love it just for me, but it's kind of weird. Where it's a breakout session. We're going back and forth, and he doesn't really. He does this more on the side than I do. I mean, he has another. So I just didn't know how to handle that.
Yeah, if you're looking for feedback just for yourself, I would specifically say that, and I don't think it'll be weird at all. I'd be like, hey, and here's what I would do, and I don't know what your personality is and if it fits, but this would fit very much in my personality. Hey, I know that, let's say Joe is my co-presenter. I know Joe's awesome and doesn't need any feedback at all, but I'm definitely someone who needs feedback. So I'd love to know what you thought about how I did during this workshop. So if you can take out your phone, scan this QR code, give me feedback, I'd greatly appreciate it. So I like edify the person and make a joke about it and then ask them to help me out, and it'd be great. If you'd want to get feedback for both of you, it'd be a different approach.
Okay, I'm gonna see if he's cool with that, but that's great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Steve. Rock it out. Rock it out. Michelle, did you have another question? Or is that from earlier? What's up? You were muted.
There we go. There we go. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. New question.
Yes.
I'm thinking about, and first of all, don't eat your dog food, please. Yeah. Really appreciate, I'm getting stuff out of this that I wasn't expecting to get. And I really appreciate just having you riff on stuff, and it's just really, really helpful. With respect to dog food, two related questions. Hang on, let me shut my door. So, two related questions.
Yep.
One is with a virtual interactive session that stays not like a recorded training. Mm-hmm. We download the slide and just put it at the end, I suppose.
Yeah.
And just say fill this out, but then the questions aren't really as appropriate. So it's not interactive is one of the questions.
Correct. That's right.
So what do we do?
Do you have a free account or a pro account?
Well, I'm still within my first month, so I'm planning on upgrading.
Great. So what you can do is when you create your presentation and go to add another Talkadot code here, you go through these first steps here. So I'm just going to make up a code for illustrative purposes. Beep. And then here. So where it says change your feedback questions. So if there are any of the 1 to 5 Likert scale emoji questions, like interactive, for example, it's like, hey, this is a virtual training. I don't want to be gauged on how interactive I am. You can just click the drop down and choose from one of our other words in the word bank. So maybe you want it to be practical instead of interactive. Wonderful. Now you'll be asked questions on how actionable, how engaging, how practical, how inspiring. Maybe you're not an inspirational speaker. Maybe you're like, hey, I give more informative things. So I want to be more on how informative I am. And maybe, so you have the ability to change these questions. And then when you change those questions, you'll notice that it's asking, was it actionable? Was it engaging? But now, was it practical?
So right now, I'm limited to what you put in the drop down.
Yes, if there's ever a word that you want that's not in our dropdown, just let us know and we can look to add it. Because we wanted to, the way I describe it is, we didn't want to give you 64 flavors because we didn't want you to be like, oh, which word perfectly describes me? We try to give the best words. But if there's a descriptive word, I get it. We want to give it to you. So just let us know.
That's fine. Okay. So in a live session, mm-hmm. When is what I ended up doing is I put it somewhere 2/3 of the way through my talk.
Okay.
And then I added it just in the closing slide. Mm-hmm. I was amazed at how many people whipped out their phones and it was just like, whoa, it's really working. Mm-hmm. And speaking of really working, the day after I sent the report to the Bureau, they said, hey, I think we have another opportunity for you. So we know that's working too. So thank you.
I love it.
But it's awkward. It's like, what point in the presentation? I want it like, if I do it too soon, then what do they have to go on? And if they don't wait to the last story that I share, which is, the more emotional one, how do they fill out the feedback? So any tips around that?
I can. So here's what I found as a general guideline for best practices of when to do it to get the highest scores and the best experience. Typically as presenters, we've got our content and then we end with a closing. Maybe you do like a final story, a Q&A, a call to arms, a poem, a thought. There's some type of ending we do to send them on their way. What I found is actually putting it right before you go into your closing, after you've done giving the majority of your content. And what I recommend saying, the language that I've used is, hey, out of curiosity, by a show of hands, how many people here have found this to be really, really helpful today? You got something valuable out of it. They raise their hand. Wonderful. Well, the best way you can pay me back is to let me know what you thought about this presentation. I want to know what you liked about it so I can do more of it. I want to know what you disliked about it so I can improve upon it. And the only way I can do that is with your feedback. So if you take out your phones, scan this QR code, and let me know what you thought about this presentation today. As a thank you for giving me your thoughts, I'm going to give you access to my 5 ways to be more awesome, or a copy of my slides, or whatever is your giveaway. And then you say, and this is the important language for everyone in terms of the whole commanding the room. So you say that, and then you say, when you're done giving me your feedback, please put your phone down and look up so I know you're finished, so I can leave you with one final thought. Then what happens is when people actually give you the feedback when they're done, since you've told them what to do, they will follow. And then when most people put their phones down and look up, it usually takes 2 to 3 minutes. Then you go into your normal closing, and you'll still end in the same emotional high that you normally would, but you've collected all of the data that you need as well. So I find right before your closing, right after you finish your content, is the best place to tee it up and to execute it.
So that is, again, really helpful. I'm usually not one to use somebody else's scripts because I'm so special, but that is good. And so where can I see that script?
Yeah, so we have a whole video of, if you drop your email in the chat, I'll be happy to send it to you. We got to make it easier for people to get access to these videos because we keep sending them directly.
Well,
but
I did see there was a video about that,
we've got a script and an example of me doing it in a live presentation as well. If you create your own thing, I actually recommend it because how I say it, how you say it may be different.
Yeah,
These are the big,
but the points you cover were really good. So
the big psychological kind of triggers. So going to like behind the scenes of why I said it is I'm giving them a reason why I'm asking them to take feedback, to give me feedback, not just to give it to me, but here's the reason why. I want to get better. I want to know how to improve. If you ask them, hey, did you like this? Was this valuable? And they say yes, their level of reciprocity through the roof. They'll do whatever you say.
And they also want to say yes, and then they want to be internally consistent. And that's right.
That's right. That's 100% correct. So those things are important. Michelle, do you want to throw your email in the chat and I'll be happy to send it to you?
Yeah, I'm on my tablet here. So
you're on your tablet? Okay.
Well, I'll figure it out.
What's your last name?
Neray, Neray.
What was it?
Neray.
Okay. I'll look you up on the back end, and then whatever email you registered with, I'll do a query, and then I'll shoot you the video. How to tee up and live demo. Just making a note for myself. Jasmine Romaine, I'll send that to you as well. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, I get it. I get it all the time, especially when I'm traveling around the US. The people just don't want to say Michelle. Yeah, it's French. People don't like they like so goes against the grain for people to say, is it
I get it.
Michelle?
It's the cognitive dissonance of being an American and not being as cultured as we should be. Cool. Jasmine, did you have a question?
I think it was answered. I love, because one of the questions that I had was, how do I segue into the ending of it for a keynote? I know how to do the sessions real good, but you nailed it. So we don't even have to go through all that. So thank you.
You are more than welcome. You are more than welcome. One of the questions, and by the way, it's all practice too, to find your, and I want to just stress, like, Steph Curry's a great basketball player. Shaquille O'Neal's a great basketball player. 2 very, very different skill sets. So how we do this and how we bring it up, we have people that I'll show you one, which I thought was like crazy cool. There's the coolness of how people do things. Now, again, it's all personality driven. Let me pull this up. Oh man, I gotta wait, how do I download this? Oh, here we go. This was an example of how another speaker does it, which I think is cool. Actually, let me share my audio. Share sound. Okay. Here we go.
Hello, ladies. We are going to pause for a moment so you can give some great feedback to my mom. This helps her to get better, and don't worry. If the feedback's not good, I'll hug her while she drinks heavily and listens to Shake It Off by Taylor Swift over and over again. Stay tuned, though. She is going to close out this session with a great story.
So that's an example of how someone else, does it. You may not want to, just for my sanity, did you all see that clip of the dog speaking? I just shared it, but then I'm also like, did anyone actually? Okay, Maya saw.
Yeah,
okay,
I
so
saw it.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so, okay. So like, that person's like, hey, she pulls up the slide, the AI dog does it, and she throws in a joke. So there's lots of different ways to do it. So I encourage you to find your comfortability. If you like to use our script, it really is pretty effective and it works really, really well. On average, we're seeing 60 to 80% of our users who do it at that time with that script, 60 to 80% of the audience giving feedback there. But have fun with it. Like you're all so amazing. So that's some best practices, Jasmine, but feel free to play with it however you'd like. Archive of previous AMAs. Yeah, we do have an archive of previous AMAs. It's on our YouTube channel under a playlist, which I will pull up right now. Boop, ba-doop, 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 boop. AMAs. Here we go. Doop, doop.
All right, pretty basic question, but I'd love.
Hold on. Share, Gappy, Zoom, boom. So that's a YouTube playlist. So we throw all of our AMAs onto our YouTube playlist, so you can check any of those out before. We're gonna look into. I'm actually gonna make a note to myself to put all of these within the Talkadot app and build it out, so we don't have to manually send them out. I think it'd be really helpful, so that you can just log in, go to like a knowledge hub, and then pull all of our data as it continues to grow. So it's all in one place. So that's something I'm making a mental note of that we will do, so it's easy for you to access it. So thank you for allowing me to get a little bit better here. Any final questions? We got 3 more minutes before we hit the top of the hour. Anybody want to do it? If anyone just wants to get some sales related questions answered, just message Maya Haradat and not me, because we got like the queen of sales on our call here. So if you got sales related stuff, holler at her, not me, but she's the one who does it really, really well. All right, cool. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for this session. Love all of the questions you're asking. It's actually giving me insights and thoughts on how we can improve upon the service for you and make sure you have all of the knowledge that you need. So super grateful for every single one of you. Thank you for being here. And remember, if you like your speaker friends, tell them about Talkadot. If you don't like your speaker friends, tell them about Google Forms. I'll see you later.